Hello, everybody. I hope that you guys have had an incredible weekend. And today we are going to learn about the ruminant digestive system. What we are diving into is our learning targets and a warm up. And then we'll look at the 4 compartments of the ruminant stomach. And then we will take a quick quiz. Our learning targets today are: I will be able to describe the functions of each part of the stomach, and I will be able to identify those parts based on descriptions and visuals. So we will be able to describe the functions, and we will be able to identify them based on the descriptions or visuals. Okay, our warm-up question today is: why can cattle and other ruminants eat grass and forages when humans cannot? Take just a second and pause this video if you need to come up with an answer to this question. All right, hopefully you guys have had some time to think about this question. And I would imagine that all of us have seen somebody take a piece of grass and eat it. And while it might have been funny, humans are not going to get any nutrients from that piece of grass. But our ruminants, such as goats, sheep, and cattle, absolutely can. And that is actually what they get all of their nutrients from. They get it from feed, like corn and grasses and wheat and all those types of things. So, the purpose of our lesson today is to learn about their really cool stomach. I am probably pretty sure that all of us have heard the saying, cows have 4 stomachs. And while that's not entirely true, there is only one stomach with 4 compartments. So it's not technically 4 stomachs, but one stomach with 4 compartments. And today we are going to learn about all 4 of those compartments. All right, everybody will have received this guided note sheet. It is the 4 compartments: the rumen, the reticulum, the omasum, and the abomasum. And there is a left side and a right side to each of those quadrants of the page. For example, under the rumen quadrant, on the left side, we will write some notes about the function and what it looks like and anything that you need to help you remember what the rumen is. And on the right side, we're just going to do a quick sketch of what we think it looks like, or how we would be able to remember what the inside of that chamber looks like. For example, we will go into the rumen. So the rumen is the largest and the first compartment of the ruminant stomach. The rumen is essentially a large storage chamber for all of the different feedstuffs, like corn and wheat and whatever they're eating. This compartment can hold 25 gallons or more. So that is a lot. If you think of a 5-gallon bucket, that's a lot. So the purpose of this chamber is fermentation. All of the little phalanges or fingers that we can kind of see within that picture, they excrete fermentation chemicals, and they also have the rumen has a ton of microbes in it. The rumen has the very, very beginning stages of digestion, but mostly it is for fermentation and storage. And like I said, it looks like there's little fingers within the rumen. They're kind of long, and I think they kind of look like fingers. From the rumen, we go into the reticulum. The reticulum is essentially a big filter. Between the rumen and the reticulum, there is a filter there that detects whether there are pieces of feed that are too big. And if you've ever seen a cow sitting out in a field and it's just chewing away, it's just chewing, but it hasn't really eaten anything recently, that is what we refer to as chewing their cud. This is a process where the reticulum says something is too big and it regurgitates the food back up into the animal's mouth so that they can chew it again and make those particles smaller and easier to digest. So they will swallow that food again, and the reticulum will tell the stomach whether the particles are small enough to move ahead or they need to be rechewed again. This is also the place where hardware could be stored. In typically cattle or other ruminants, there is something called hardware disease. This is where an animal will eat screws or nails or pieces of metal, little pieces of wire, anything like that that they might swallow. It will get stored here in the reticulum. Now, hardware disease is not good for animals. Pieces of metal can puncture through the stomach walls and cause so many problems. However, something cool that producers can do is put a little magnet in the reticulum, so it magnetizes all those little metal pieces, so it is less likely to puncture the stomach. So hardware disease can be deadly, but there are ways that we can help, one, prevent that, and also help it if it does happen. So the reticulum has kind of a honeycomb texture. So in that section, I would draw little honeycombs. If the reticulum says that those particles are small enough that they can move on, they end up in the O-mesum. The O-mesum's main job is water and other material absorption. So it is going to absorb all the liquids it can out of the feedstuffs. The O-mesum looks like it has a ton of folds, and it also has short little fingers or phalanges on there, but ideally we would draw a bunch of little folds. It can look kind of like a bunch of fabric stacked together or paper folded together a bunch of times. But the O-mesum's main job is water or material absorption, water or liquid absorption. So once all the water has been sucked out, we move into the abomesum. The abomesum is what we refer to as the true stomach. The true stomach is the closest to the human stomach that we can get or that we can understand. So this is the place where acids and digestive enzymes break down all of that feed stuff. This part of the stomach, the abomesum, is a lot smoother than any part that we've seen so far. When we looked back at the O-mesum, it had a ton of deep folds. The abomesum doesn't have quite as deep of folds, but there are a few, and they don't have quite the same phalanges either. It's a lot smoother and a lot closer to our stomach. Okay, going over that again, we have the rumen, the storage chamber, the reticulum, the filter that kind of looks like a honeycomb, the O-mesum, the water and liquid absorber that has a ton of folds. And then we move into our abomesum, our true stomach, where the acids and the digestive enzymes can finally absorb all the nutrients that the animals are going to need. And then after it goes through the abomesum, it goes through the intestines and stuff like that, but we will go through that in another lesson. All right. In just a moment, we are going to take a photo of our guided note sheet and we are going to submit it in our Google Classroom for our participation for today's lesson. So go ahead and put a big pause on this video and get that photo taken and submit it into Google Classroom. All right, now that we are back, we are going to do our final review. Please scan this QR code and fill out our Google form quiz. Some of our example questions could potentially be, which chamber of the stomach has a honeycomb appearance? What chamber is the true stomach? And what is the rumen? What is the function of that chamber of the stomach? So once again, please pause this video and go ahead and fill out that Google form quiz. All right, now that we are all back and that quiz is taken, I hope that you guys have had a blast learning about the ruminant stomach, our rumen, our reticulum, our O-mesum, and our abomesum. I hope that you guys had a great time learning about the ruminant stomach and how our cattle and our goats and our sheep can take grasses and corn and all that kind of stuff that humans cannot get nutrients from, but they can. And you guys have a great fact to go tell everybody else that cattle don't actually have 4 stomachs. They have one that has 4 cool compartments. Awesome. I hope you guys have a great summer. And if you guys have any agricultural questions at all, you know where to find me. Bye, guys.